Before I came to America, I surely knew that the legal drinking age here was 21 years old. And I thought that is going to be an adjustment, because in Belgium, you may know it or not, we have an alcohol culture that is, an alcohol culture does not mean that we are drunk 24/7, but it means that alcohol is just not frowned upon in society. My grandmother is 82 years old, and she was surprised when I Skyped to her and I told her that I hadn't even had a glass of champagne on New Year's Day. My dad was in America a few weeks ago, and he noticed something that I hadn't even noticed because I was already influenced by the American culture. He told me that he thought it was strange that there weren't as many patios next to bars and restaurants than in Belgium, and I hadn't even noticed. So I was already influenced by the American culture. I think at that point I noticed that there is a stigma in the United States that claims that drinking alcohol is a bad thing and makes you a bad person. Because when now I think of Belgium, I wonder if our culture is actually a bad culture because we drink alcohol. And is it wrong for me to like to go to a bar on a Friday after school with my friends? Is that a bad thing? I think we need to destroy the social stigma that drinking alcohol makes you a bad person. People are often convinced that drinking is just a bad thing. They tell you that you become drunk, you lose your job, you lose your family, etc. But there's already a misconception in just that. Drinking doesn't mean getting drunk. Why do people think that? They think that because there is no education about alcohol. Instead of helping people with alcohol problems, we blame them, making it even worse for them and actually contributing to that vicious cycle of that those people who use alcohol too much land in. According to addiction websites, VAD and NCADD, the average alcohol abuse in both the United States and in Belgium is around 9% average. But since I've been in America and I've noticed this myself, the word alcoholic is more used here in the United States than I've ever heard in my entire life. So we contribute to that blame and that social stigma because of that. Another thing is, when I talk to students, and which actually is kind of scary, is the first question, or like the question I heard the most was, what is the legal drinking age in your country? And when I told them 16, they were all like, oh, I guess I'll move to Belgium then. This might seem innocent or a joke, but it actually means that those students think that alcohol is something you need to have fun and contributes to your fun. But this is wrong. Drinking is not needed to have fun, but it should be something that is not frowned upon. As I already said, drinking does not make you a bad person. We need to learn about responsibility with alcohol. This is possible because if you just look at Belgium, where it is already done, we can have a society and open culture like that as well. The only thing we need to do is we need to talk about it. According to the Nebraska Substance Abuse and Addiction Center, it says that parents who communicate with their children at younger ages about alcohol, those kids, when they grow up to be teens, they will see alcohol as more harmful and are less likely to drink at ages 17 and 18. But in the USA, parents and schools don't really talk about the use of alcohol. Teens are being kept in the dark and even isolated when it comes to alcohol. That responsibility can be taught in schools. We just need the courage to change to a more open society without this cultural stigma. So, is Belgium a country of sinners? I don't think so. The only thing we have to do is we have to be responsible to handle alcohol with care. and then we will succeed in our mission. We can do this with education, but also we need to talk to people about the use of alcohol, because a lack of communication in the same study shows that a lack of communication leads to more heavy drinking. There is, however, one thing you can do yourself, and that is you don't call someone an alcoholic. Drinking does not make you an alcoholic. It is not being able to control yourself that does make you an alcoholic. So I can conclude that someone who drinks is not a bad person for that reason. Yes?
Is drinking and driving as big of a problem as in Belgium as it is here?
Drinking and driving is, in Belgium, like, I looked at percentages, and it is like a few percentages more in Belgium than it is here. But I think that's just like part of our culture, but I do know that over the past years it's also decreased the amount of drunk driving in Belgium. So yeah, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the legal age of drinking in Belgium. So.
This isn't quite related, but what is the driving age in Belgium?
Driving age is 18 in Belgium, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was just would you say that you have like a higher tolerance for alcohol too if you start at a younger?
A higher tolerance? I don't know, like it depends from person to person, I guess. But of course, I know that since I was 16, I was able to drink. So I realized that at the time you're 18 years old, because you've already been exposed to alcohol for over 2 years, by the time you're 18 years old, you're more conscious about what alcohol does to you, because you've just had more experience, and in that period of 2 years, you still live with your parents, so whenever you do something wrong, you have like that negative feedback from your parents at that moment. So when you're 18, you can go to a party, but you can just be like, I don't need to go to this party to get drunk, I just go to this party to have fun.
Did your education come from your parents or from your school?
Both. Because we live in that alcohol culture and we talk about it, I have both my parents, they drink whenever their friends are in our house or something, and being exposed to seeing them just drinking something casually with their friends and not being in like a negative context of being drunk, it actually makes you realize that you don't need to drink to have fun, and that alcohol is not something you just use to get drunk or something.
Okay.
So,